Jay here, Stretford, Paddock, and this is a different kind of academy review. So joining me, as always, is David Pritt. And what we're going to do today is we're going to look at some of the youngsters that Manchester United have got and how they could fit in with Erik Ten Hag's ethos, because he's well known for giving youth a chance. He did it at Ajax, of course. It was the Ajax way. Hopefully, he's bringing a little bit of that to Manchester United, and you can tell us which players you think may get a chance under him. How's that sound?
Sounds all right, yeah.
Yeah, because your team's done all right this season, hasn't it?
I mean, they did it okay. They only won the Youth Cup.
Only won the Youth Cup, but do you know what I mean? The FA Youth Cup. You was there, weren't you?
Just about, yeah.
Was you in the press box and all
that? Don't know what you're talking about.
Changed you, Dave. I remember you used to just go to the game like a fan, and now you're mingling with the bourgeoisie with your prawn sandwiches, and you're mingling with all the journalists. Disgusting. Anyway, let's get straight into it. Listen, what we know about Erik Ten Hag is during his time at Ajax, he was a manager who gave youth a chance. He was, he gave debuts and gave chances to some of the players now that a lot of them were being linked with. So, the likes of Jurrien Timber, for example, have been linked heavily with him. We've seen the kid Garbutt, who's obviously just had a transfer as well. There's a sort of an ethos within Ajax itself. When you've got good youngsters, when you get your academy, similar to United in a way, then you give them a chance and you sort of, in some cases, base your team around them. Now, just looking at Ajax and some of the players that have come through that, it's almost quite historic. It's happened for decades. You go back to, I remember sort of as a kid watching the 1995 Champions League final, which is not the same as the 1991 Cup Winners' Cup final, of course, but you had a team there made up of predominantly players that had come through the academy that won Europe's biggest prize. You had the likes of the De Boer brothers, you had Edgar Davids, Edwin van der Sar, of course. It was a sort of team that sort of, came through this academy and won Europe's top prize. Now you look at he's come to United after the success Erik Ten Hag's come to United after the success he's had by giving youngsters a chance. At one point, he had the youngest, I think, team in Eredivisie history. And the average age was 20. I did well there. 20 years and 139 days, producer Ethan tells me. Looking at Manchester United, looking at the players that he could potentially use, we'll go through some of them and you can tell me whether you think they're ready for the first team. Now, one player who's become pretty much the shining star of the academy team for a lot of people is Ganacho Alejandro. How far off the first team do you think he could be?
It's hard to say. A lot of people have been disappointed with past couple of seasons, especially last season, and they want to see players like him come in and do well, and basically get him in, he's good, he's won the Youth Cup, he's scoring goals, get him in. But I don't think it's as simple as that sometimes. He's so young, he's not even 18 yet. I know, they all look older than what they are because they've all got full of tattoos these days.
Never happened under Fergie, that.
I know. But, yeah, I do still think with him, I'd give him another year or so. I'd let him have a couple of opportunities off the bench, maybe. Not like his debut where he got like 12 seconds, but...
You were fuming about that, weren't you? You were not happy about that debut because he's got a good record in debuts.
What's the point?
And you said that to give Rex his chance of getting a goal on his debut because it was literally just a brief
He scored every time he's played at Old Trafford, apart from that, because he didn't touch the ball.
That was it. Sorry, that was the record that you were unhappy about.
Yeah, I think these opportunities, especially we're in the Europa League. Is he going to play his full squad against lower teams if we play him? Like, I went to the game against Astana. He played majority youth there. Games like that, where why not play him and play other players in that? But yeah, I'd like to see him sometimes off the bench a couple of times, but I don't think he's completely ready yet to be our starting player yet. And I think Ten Hag will hopefully know that and be a bit patient with him, because you don't want to rush him in and then ruin him.
Yeah, I hear that. Do you think that he will get a place in the squad? Do you think a loan move? How do you sort of see it panning out for Ganacho?
It's an odd thing now because the under-23 league has just changed. They've changed it back to under-21. So I don't know if that will make the league any better, but it's hard. I'd want him in the squad, but I wouldn't expect him to be in the squad every match day. He'd like, if he got on the bench a quarter of the time, I'd be happy. But it's then, do you send him out on loan though? Would he get a better chance on loan, or would he be better in the 21s, being around the first team with Ronaldo there, learning off him? It's a difficult one, but I'd rather him stay and then hopefully be on the bench by that quarter of the season.
a quote. So yeah, I understand that, and I think it's always good for him to be around the first team, like you say, especially as you mentioned there, Cristiano Ronaldo, who's already been praising and triggering a lot of people, including Sergio Aguero, when he said, you know, with the GOAT, and Sergio Aguero was like posting pictures of Messi saying, "How can you say this sort of thing?"
Well, it's a weird thing. I don't know if Ronaldo's seen him and took him under his wing kind of thing, because when he scored that hat trick, his last hat trick, he gave Ganacho the ball, and let him have it, and it's like. I suppose
when you're Ronaldo, then you've got about 150 match balls or whatever it is, something stupid. True. You're not bothered about giving.
I know, but I just thought, it was strange that he gave him it on the pitch as well. Not he didn't want it in the dressing room, so maybe he's taking him under his wing. I think, you know, this boy's got something. I'll teach him.
Yeah, who knows? Obviously, you know, United have been linked with a lot of players, been linked with a lot of midfielders, been linked very heavily with Frenkie de Jong, who's another player that came through the Ajax academy under Erik Ten Hag, showing that again, putting that faith in youth and watching it blossom. In terms of Manchester United's youngsters in that similar-ish position, I mean, one player that sort of, I know he's a bit more attacking than Frenkie de Jong, who's been getting a lot of praise recently, is Hannibal Mejbri. He's a player that had that cameo at Anfield, has obviously done very well for the academy and the under-23s. I know he's slightly older than some of the other players we've mentioned. How far off do you think he is from getting a decent stint in a squad?
It's a weird one with him. I mean, I've been maybe overcritical, but I don't think I've been overcritical. People have said it. I just don't think he's right up here, really. He's a fantastic footballer. He loves, you know, on the ball, he loves passing the ball, loves dribbling with the ball. But he's very petulant. He's better than what he was. But at the Liverpool game, he comes on and starts kicking people. Everyone's going, great, because it's Liverpool and we're losing. But he does that in other games, and it costs you. He's been sent off, I don't know how many times.
That under-23s red card, where he got a second yellow for doing that.
I was with you at the
time.
We
did a watch-along, and he's called the kid over and he's given a second yellow.
I said it before the game. That's what he's like.
And he scored in that game and got sent off.
He can be amazing, but he can also ruin it and get banned, because that's the way he is. He'll kick someone, he'll proper boot him, and then go to the ref, did nothing. Yeah. He'll get tapped, and he'll roll around on the floor going, ref, card. And it's... I don't think you can do that in the Premier League, and until he learns you can't be doing stuff like that, I don't think he's really got a place at the moment. Technically wise, yeah, he can do it, but the other side, he's not. And I don't think the Liverpool game helped him, because he got praised for kicking people, and so he's going to think, Well,
apparently Ralph Rangnick, according to some reports, was fuming with him, and because he dropped him from the squad pretty much straight away, then, didn't he? And I don't think he featured again. So the reports were that whilst people like Gary Neville were loving it, and as a fan I was kind of...
as a fan you do, but if you're thinking about...
Ralph Rangnick didn't feel that way.
Progressing his career and stuff, how many times have I said it to you about him kicking, and it's not good he needs to just focus on his football, and doing it in a big thing like that. And he headlines about him saying, you know, the tenacity of him, and he's the only one playing for the shirt and stuff like that. I don't think it was good for him, really.
No, I hear that, and whilst he's a sort of a very popular player, and
to watch him play football,
can do bits.
Brilliant. Yeah. Honestly, he's a joy to watch, but it's the other bits that I can't stand.
One player who's had he's a little bit older. He's been out on loan at Hull, had a very successful spell. Desean Bernard. I spoke about a few loan players the other day. I didn't speak about this guy. Where do you think he stands in this sort of opportunities? We've got a lot of games coming up. We're in the Europa. Do you think he could come back into the fold and maybe be given a chance as a squad player? I don't think he's going to be in the first team. What do you think of his chances?
It's a funny one with him, because obviously he was at Salford when we used to talk about him at Salford, and he started off so well and then just got dropped from the team, and he couldn't get back into the team or anything. Then now he's gone up into a higher division. He's been smashing it, and he's looked brilliant. He's looked composing. He's playing men's football, so you know he can handle it. And I think something like pre-season this year, you got to give him a shot. And we don't know our centre backs properly yet. Is Bailly going to be around? Is he going to go? Varane, is he going to be fit? Is Lindelof going to be playing pre-season? Bring him along, give him a shot, because if he does it in pre-season and the lads respond to him well, why not have him there? Maybe a third of the time coming off the bench or playing in games where it's a lower opponent, like in the League Cup or something. Because if he's doing it week in, week out for Hull, he should be able to do it in the League Cup, I think.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair assessment. And also, some of these youngsters who've got that little bit of experience playing in the Championship, they're the type of youngsters you can go, actually, maybe we can use you, because there's so many games and we do need to have a decent amount of players ready for the Europa League, ready for some of the earlier rounds of the Cup as well.
Well, it's like last season. We relied on Phil Jones for some games because we didn't have enough players. Would you not rather have a young player like Bernard who can try and prove himself for the team, rather than someone who, I know he's been a great servant, but how long is he going to be around for?
Well, he's barely kicked the ball for 2 years, has he? So I think that if you are relying on Phil Jones, that tells its own story. And at least with someone like Bernard, he potentially could have a very sort of good United career ahead of him. I don't think anyone's expecting Phil Jones to be at United for more than perhaps a season at best. Kind of makes sense that for me. We'll have to wait and see what happens with that and whether Erik Ten Hag feels like Bernard is someone he can utilise. Now, someone who's been in and around the first team and probably got more publicity than most others because of his dad was Charlie Savage. Sometimes it's a weird one with this because I looked at Charlie Savage, very talented youngster. Some people are like, is this a bit of a surprise that he's sort of been in and around the first team, or is this sort of par for the course because of the talent he's got? And I'm not buying into the idea that he's there because of his dad. I don't think Ralph Rangnick was going, "Oh, your dad's Robbie Savage, I'm going to give you a chance." If that was the case, then Brooklyn Beckham would be starting for us. So where do you think Charlie Savage stands in the pecking order? Do you think he's going to go out on loan, or do you think he's going to be in and around the first team?
I think it's him and Zidane Iqbal, similar.
Oh, can we talk about both? Yeah.
Similar age, been up the ranks together, both made the debuts at the same time.
Yeah.
Both great players. Both midfielders, slightly different the way they play. But the way we're talking about midfielders and the players we got, the players we're talking about bringing in, the players we got out on loan, do I think they're going to get a chance this season? Probably not. I think probably for them, do what Garner's done, go out on loan, try and prove yourself. And we'll talk about Garner in a bit, but he went out on loan, didn't quite work for his time, went out on loan again, semi-works, and then at the end of the season, he's smashed it. So that's what you've got to do when you go out on loan. Bernard, again, we just talked about him, didn't quite work, gone out on loan again, smashed it. And that's what you got to do. When you first go out on loan, you can't just think, oh, it's not worked out, I'm never going to make it. You just got to keep going. And I think these two, I think they will do well if they go out on loan, but I don't think there's any point of them sticking around trying to get in the first team this season because there's too many players there.
Fair enough. One player who he's sort of become quite popular on social media is Fernandez. I don't mean Bruno. You know what I'm talking about.
Alvaro.
Exactly, Alvaro Fernandez. What tell us about him and how he could fit into this team if he's given a chance?
Great. Let me just prefix. What a great player. Yeah. Great on the ball. But my problem with modern fullbacks is everyone looks at how many goals, how many assists.
Yeah.
What they like dribbling in the box. Like no one talks about how many clean sheets they've got anymore.
Yeah.
And you look at him, and he's a winger. He's playing left back. He's improved a little bit. He has started defending, but my problem with Luke Shaw is he just didn't want to defend. He'd rather stay on the halfway line and wait for the ball to come so he can get forward. And I don't want that from a fullback. I want someone who defends and goes forward. That's
a crazy idea, that Dave. That a fullback will defends. What have you been smoking? I've never.
It's honestly, ridiculous I don't know how it's changed now, where people don't expect fullbacks to defend anymore, and he doesn't defend that much. Great going forward, brilliant. But for me, he's a winger.
Right. Okay.
Or he'd be a great left wing back.
Maybe, who knows? I mean, he's only young. He can develop.
Yeah, no. What an amazing talent, speed, the crossing, dribbling, brilliant. But I've not seen enough of his defending, and that's what you really want.
So with that, then, do you think he stays around the first team? He gets coached by Ten Hag. We try and get that into him. Do you think he goes out on loan? We've seen it with the likes of Ethan Laird and Brandon Williams, of course. Good young attacking fullbacks who've gone out on loan and done pretty well. Or where do you think his path lies?
Maybe a loan, and maybe you just mentioned him there, Ethan Laird. Maybe he comes and gets a shot because he does defend, he does get forward, and Fernandez will look and say, well, if I need to get into the team, what do I need to do? And you'll see someone like Laird who's defending, who's putting his body on the line to defend and then also getting forward, getting shots, getting goals. And I know it's tiring, but that's what you have to do to be one of the best fullbacks in the world.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at these players, and a lot of them are different ages. You've got 18-year-olds. You've got, one of them, I think, is it Ganacho at the time recording this, is 17. So I mentioned some of the players that have been given a chance under Erik Ten Hag. We're looking at these players of all different ages. And in the past, he has been willing to put that faith in youth. We're talking, I mentioned Ryan Gravenberch, obviously, who's as a player that did very well for him. Jurien Timber. There's also Brian Broby. Am I getting that right? Brian Broby. He went to Leipzig after he was given his chance at Ajax as well. So we've seen these players under Ten Hag be given a chance. The bigger names are, we mentioned De Jong there, you mentioned Delitz. These are players that now you go, okay, yeah, the mint, the great, the whatever. But he took not a punt, but he put a lot of faith in them. He gave them the trust to make them regular footballers under him. I think Delitz had made his debut under the previous manager, but it was Erik Ten Hag who was willing to show that faith in him. Obviously, I know he's a little bit older, but Donny van der Beek. So you've got these players who are mixed ages. Some of them are very young, some of them not quite as young. One player who's almost looked at, and I mentioned him in the loan video we did, but we'll mention him here briefly as well, as a sort of almost elder statesman of the younger players now, is James Garner, because he's had like you mentioned earlier, the low moves, the sort of the tough time at Watford, the better time at Forest, the superb time at Forest. Do you see him coming into this team?
Yeah, I think you have to as well. We talk about these players like De Jong, who we may be bringing in, and you just mentioned him there, Donny van der Beek, who's been, let's be honest, disappointing for United. I know he's got a fan base behind him, but for me, he's just not made the cut. And if you're Jimmy Garner and you've just been promoted to the Premier League with Forest, who, when he got there, they were dead bottom of the Championship, you're thinking, if I can do this, why can't I take his place? And I think a lot of these players have to think that way. We're talking to players bringing in, but you've always got to think, well, if they mess up, I'll take their place. Sorry. So you always got to be on your toes, and you've always got to be doing something. And I think, to be fair, I think Garner's earned the right to now be in the squad. What more can he do? He's been, how many times? You must have seen it a few times, Forest, and how many times you looked at it and gone, you know what? He's probably the best player on the pitch there today.
Yeah,
I've done it a few times. Even the final, he played well. I think he really deserves his shot, and I think it would be unfair now if we sent him out on loan again.
Yeah, no, I agree. There's been this sort of school of thought that maybe he would benefit more from going back to Forest or staying with Forest because he's going to get more regular football. But you feel like, he's like, I do feel like this is the stage now where giving him that chance in the first team. He's proven himself. I mentioned earlier about the kid Brian Broby who went over to RB Leipzig and then I think he got re-signed by Ten Hag. He came back into the Ajax team to show what he's about. And I feel like now with Garner, it's a case of he comes back into the United, or back into the team, wasn't really in the team, but back into the club, and then he's given that chance.
As well, new manager, new philosophy, the way he wants his team to be made up, the way he wants to play. If Garner's the future, get him in now at the beginning so he knows exactly what's going on. Him and the manager work together. The players around him know what's going on. If you set your system up and he's not about, and then you try and bring him in now at the beginning when it's fresh, because no one's expecting us to do anything this season, are they really?
No.
Let's be honest. So let's just get him in and make it work.
Let's get him in and make it work. I like that attitude. One player we often talk about on this podcast and when we're doing the Academy review is Charlie McNeil. Obviously, still a very young lad, very competitive in it for striking positions. What do you think the next stage is for him this season? Is it more games in the maybe under 23s? Is it a loan move? Is it being around the squad? What do you reckon?
I think it's a funny one. So this same age, him and Hugill. I think even though they're similar, scored goals, I think McNeil's probably best sticking around at the moment. I don't think he's going to get he might get an opportunity next season, but he's not going to be thought of as he's going to be our striker or for the moment. Whereas with Hugill, I think a loan for him, he's a bit bigger and a bit stronger, and I think he could handle it a bit better. And I think McNeil's got a hell of a lot of talent. And once again, with someone like Ronaldo there, maybe he trains with the first team, learns off him. But yeah, Hugill, I think if he went out on loan, played tougher games, I think it'd benefit him massively.
Yeah, we are quite lucky to have two sort of, just prolific goal scorers. Obviously, very young, got a lot of time ahead of him. It'd be interesting how they develop physically. I know that's one thing that you can't sort of quantify at the minute. Well, at the minute, they've certainly got the talent. There's no disputing that whatsoever. And I think they've both got the right attitude as well. And hopefully they can physically sort of progress in the way that we want them to, because if they do, then there's no stopping them to, is there?
No, the goal scorers, a pair of them, brilliant to watch.
Yeah, love it. They've got a bit of an edge to him as well, which I love all that. Do you know what I mean? We do love a bit of that.
You've cut winners as well.
You can't get better than that. They've both won the FA Youth Cup. Do you know what I mean? Everything's pretty much downhill from now. Is there anyone else on your list that you want to talk about?
Who else have I put here? Yeah, two others. One I've not spoken about in a while, but he's Ethan Galbraith.
Oh, here we go. Dave Pritt is the card-carrying member of the Ethan Galbraith fan club, and rightly so. He's a very talented young lad. Where do you think his future lies?
I hope he comes on pre-season. I hope he does a job, but I think if Garner comes into the first team, I think Galbraith should look at what he's done and try and emulate that. I know he went on loan to Doncaster Rovers. Unfortunately, he got an injury, went back, and it's been a bit hit and miss because of his injury. But yeah, I think if he stays fit for the entire season, has a good pre-season, stays fit all season, has a good loan, I think he deserves a shot the following season.
What is it you like about Ethan Galbraith so much? Because you're one of those, you're quite balanced and, you don't sort of single players out, but you've always championed him.
Yeah, he's just a great player to watch. He's very physical. He's very calm as well, where he can just stop and have a look to see what's going on. Great pass on him. One of the best shots outside the box I've ever seen.
Really?
And a great all-round great guy.
Well, there you go. There's the rub. Good guy as well. It matters, though. We like to hear that these youngsters have got a good head on the shoulders. Who else is on your list?
And then Shola
Shoretire. This is a good point because this came up. We were on a video the other day. We were talking about young players just on a podcast. We got onto that topic. And people going, Shola Shoretire, what's going on there? Do you know what I mean? Like, there was a time a couple of years ago where he was being linked with Barcelona and he got a new deal at United and everyone was like, he was, getting a sort of in and around the squad. And then it's like, okay, what's the next step for him? So what is the next step, do you feel, for the youngster?
Well, he's still relatively young. The reason everyone talks about him because he's been around the block a while because I think he made his under-18 debut at 14.
Yeah.
I think he made his under-19 debut in Europe away at 14 as well.
That's ridiculous.
On a school night.
Shocking, that. Terrible, eh?
So his name's been doing the rounds for a while, but he's still young. I think he might still be 18. He's either 18 or just turned 19. He's a young lad. He's had, in the past few years, a bit of a growth spurt as well. Just patience with him. He's obviously got a bit of talent, got there. I just think with him, another year with United, see how he goes, then probably a loan move. But yeah, you got to be patient with these players. You can't just rush him in.
You can forget, especially when they're ahead of time, ahead of like schedule almost, that they're still very young. They've still got, another at least probably 1 or 2 seasons, if not 3, before you can go, okay, are they ready to make that step up? It's easy to go, get them in now, or they're not good enough and all that nonsense. You do have to be patient. And I think that's one good thing about Erik Ten Hag is, yes, he has used youngsters and he will give young players a chance. And we saw it. It's the same sort of ethos that, I don't want to use the word philosophy with Louis van Gaal, as it'll give us a nightmare philosophy. Trainer coach. Louis van Gaal did it. We saw Paddy McNair thrown in, and everyone was like, wow, where's that coming from? Tyler Blackett was like a regular for a little spell. Yeah. It was great, wasn't it? Cameron Borthwick Jackson, those type of players.
Donald Love.
Yeah, Donald Love, eh? Do you know what I mean? Rochdale's finest. So you saw these players being given a chance under Van Gaal. He had no qualms about it, because this is the guy, I think, that gave Sado for, we put him in the Champions League final when he was a kid. Do you know what I mean? So he's got no qualms about that. Erik Ten Hag has a similar ethos, but there is a balance there. You're not just going to throw in children into the Premier League. And I don't think Erik Ten Hag's going to come in and go, right, Kobe Mainoo, for example, you're starting every week.
Yeah, and I don't think that would be a good idea. I know people want that, but it won't be a good idea at all.
No.
It's just, it wouldn't be good for him if it went wrong. It just ruined their careers. And you got to remember, there's also you look around the club, people like Ted Mengi still around. We still got to give him a shot. And I mean, he's got to be in pre-season and be thought of because what he is. Brandon Williams, Ethan Laird, people like this. There's a lot around. So you got to look at the age level. And like I said to you before about the under-23s changing to under-21s, it's all going to change soon as well because if players, they don't fancy him now after the 21, you either go out on loan or it's see you later.
What do you make of that? I know we've spoken about it off camera. What do you make of that change that, the under-23s is now just the under-21s, and I think, you can play past 21, can't you? But
yeah, you can. I think it's 3 over age, or 2 over age, and the goalkeeper.
It's limited.
Yeah, I prefer it under-21. I always did. 23, it's just if you're not there's been players who've been through United, never gone out on loan, got to under 23, turned 23, and then gone, what do we do now? And it's see you later. And I don't think that's a good way. And if you've not been out on loan or made it by 23 sometimes, I think you're not doing it right. 21, you got to think to yourself, if you're 18, 19, you're thinking, I've only got 2 years left if I don't make it to the first team. So what am I going to do? Am I going to carry on with this? Ask for a loan? Do a try and do that? And I just think it's better. You've got a lot of people who are just biding the time with the 23s. I think 21s will be much better.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how this all pans out. One thing we know with Erik Ten Hag, one thing we know with what he's done in the past is he will use youngsters. He will, as we've said earlier, he will give them a chance, but there will be a bit of balance. People often look at Manchester United and go, when you talk about the DNA and what's our history is about, it's about giving youngsters a chance. Famously, the class of '92, Alan Hansen, you'll never win anything with kids. But what people have to remember about that team is, Gary Neville had been around the first team quite a little while. Ryan Giggs was a regular for the first team.
Well, you got to remember, Ryan Giggs was playing for the first team and then went back to playing the under-18s in the Youth Cup final.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, we'll give him a shot now. He
already
had
this
his shot.
Ryan Giggs fella. And also, the likes of Nicky Butt, he played in the new camp. You bet David Beckham had been out on loan, Preston, come back, had a lot of games, had a few dozen games. So by the time you go into that 95-96 season, they've all had quite a lot of games for the first team. Do you know what I mean? Also, you've got a very experienced, successful team around them. A little bit different this time around. Some of these youngsters haven't had any real first team experience. They haven't really been even around the first team at all, for a few of them. So you do have to be slightly cautious, don't you?
Yeah, I've got to be very cautious. But I do think you have to play on now this Youth Cup win because it's the only good thing that's come out United recently. And you were there. How many people turned up for that? And
yeah,
it was great.
Amazing, wasn't it?
People
Great
still talk about it now. So United have got to work on that, even for the publicity. You've got to try and, hopefully in the next few years, get them players into the first team, give them a shot anyway, because they all talk about the class of '92, but they'll want to market the class of 2022, won't they? So and you do hope they do get a shot because they do deserve it, really.
They do, and like you say, they were a breath of fresh air last season in a time when we needed one because there was literally nothing else to shout about as a Manchester United fan. It was awful. But that FA Youth Cup final at Old Trafford gave us all a big lift, and hopefully we'll see some of those players playing in the first team soon. But when the time is right, shall we say? Not too soon. Dave, where can people find you?
I'm on it sometimes.
I would say, I put a gun to your head now. I'm here sometimes.
I'm on Facebook. No, I'm not even on Facebook. I'm talking about. I'm on what they call Twitter. And
this is
Instagram.
like having a word with my granddad.
I'm on them. If you want
on that media stuff.
If you want to follow. If you don't, don't.
Yeah, there you go. You can find Dave if you can be bothered finding him on his social media. It sounds like he's very enthusiastic about it, but you can see him on this channel. Next season, we'll be doing the academy review regularly as well. We'll be keeping you updated on the under-21s on the academy side, letting you know how the loanees are getting on as well. We've had another video about loanees that's gone up as well, so you can check that out. Make sure you're following Dave. You know where to find me, Jay Moy. This has been an academy review looking at how Erik Ten Hag can utilise some of the young players at his disposal at Manchester United Football Club. Thanks for watching.